Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. Today's video is a special one. I'm going to be talking about 10 things Americans need to think about before getting involved in a war with China over Taiwan. So these are 10 questions that America's public should really ask the question, because it seems to me that a lot of Americans don't realize what they're getting themselves in for by poking the dragon. So before I start this show, guys, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And also, if you can, join my Patreon and help support the channel. That'll be really good. Or you can buy me coffee if you really like this video. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. So the format of this video, I'm going to go through a brief introduction, but the main meat of the video starts in the 12-minute mark. So if you don't want to listen to the introduction and you want to go straight into the meat of the video, you're welcome to do so. But I would recommend listening to the introduction because it gives you a much fuller picture. So like I said, this video is for the American public. I don't think they understand the costs involved in a war with China, and they need to ask themselves the right questions, and they need to know what the ultimate costs are and what the ultimate sacrifices are and what would happen in an escalation. So this is for them, and let's hope this video reaches out to as many Americans as possible. So without further ado, let's continue. So the summit between Biden and Xi was a week ago. And week seems to be a very long time in politics, a very long time. A lot has happened in this week. For example, Biden has spoken about boycotting the Olympic Games. He's sending ships through the Taiwanese Strait, as you can see. He's also talking about missing tennis players and stuff, trying to poke the dragon even more. I mean, look at this. Why is Joe Biden getting involved with this? Doesn't he have anything better to do than look for missing tennis players in China? I mean, how many missing people are there in USA right now? Seriously, and he cares about one missing player in China, and she's not even missing. She's basically, doesn't want to be bothered. She's coming online, speaking to people. She's going to public events, but it's not enough for him. They're still, coming up with crap like this. Then you got him supporting Lithuania. US has offered $600 million to Lithuania to cushion the blow of losing trade with China. So Lithuania are like their little poodles that they're sending out to do this. So I'm not really surprised, really. So they're doing this. They're also stopping a company called SK Hynix to open a huge facility in China because US does not want advanced equipment to be used in the process to enter into China. So you can see they're stopping South Korean companies from opening up chip companies in China. So this is all this week, guys. This is not happening, before the summit. This is all happening after the summit. He's also got all of his allies to kind of talk about having a war with China. This is Australian Labour Party. They're talking about war with China. He's having a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics as well. He's also getting Boris Johnson to talk anti-China rhetoric as well. And you can see papers are saying too many successive governments have been too nice to China. Boris is right to end all of that. Yeah, right. This is the same Boris who talks about Peppa Pig and makes car noises. And people are asking him, is he all right? Because is he ill, or is he mentally not there? So people are asking questions. I mean, this guy, is running a country and he's making Peppa Pig noises and goes to Peppa Pig Park. I mean, this is Boris in Peppa Pig Park and enjoying himself, as you can see. They've also, UK is also spending 100 million in advanced warfare arsenal, and you can see from the papers it's a warning to Russia and China. I mean, seriously, what's 100 million gonna do? Have you seen the budget of Russia and China and how advanced Russia and Chinese advanced warfare arsenal is compared to what 100 million? I mean, seriously, Britain needs to get off his high horse, man. The point is, guys, US is not to be trusted. They release a lot of fake news and incorrect news regarding the summit. For example, it was all over the papers that USA and China agreed on nuclear arms talks after the summit, and that was definitely not true, guys. It was posted all over the US papers, the British papers, and after doing more research, it was found out that this was fake news. This was a lie. China had never, not even once, said they would have any nuclear arms talks and reductions with America. I mean, why would they? America are pushing for a war with China. Why would China expose themselves further and reduce their arms so America can go in and blow them up like they did to Iraq? Remember all the sanctions that Iraq had all those years, and they came up with a story about weapons of mass destruction, and they just bombed Iraq to bits, and Iraq had no weapons to defend themselves. It was an easy war, and that's what USA wants. USA wants China to reduce his weapons arsenal so they can go in and bomb the place to smithereens. That's not going to happen, guys. It's just fake news. Another piece of fake news is all of these USA papers are saying US is tapping into their reserves alongside China, Japan, India, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. Well, let me tell you something. The United Kingdom, South Korea, India, Japan definitely said yes because they are allies of US, and whatever US says to them, they'll pretty much do. China, in fact, has not agreed to release any reserves. There has been no announcement from the Chinese government or Global Times or any news article from China to say they're going to be releasing any reserves. That's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen for three reasons. Number one, why would they release their reserves? They need their reserves in case there is a war in the Taiwanese Strait and the US decide to blockade China, for example. And so they would need their reserves in case this blockade happens. Secondly, if they release their reserves, they have to replace those reserves with higher oil prices, which is doesn't make any business sense. And the third reason, and it's probably the most important reason, is OPEC will reduce output if USA and all of these other countries start releasing its reserves, because OPEC loves to have the high prices. And don't forget, Russia is a part of OPEC as well, and makes no sense why China would go up against Russia and fight with Russia when it comes to oil and OPEC and stuff like that. It just makes no sense. Russia and China are pretty much partners, and they liaise with everything. They have conference calls almost daily, updates. So Russia and China would be working together. So there is no way that they would do anything to upset Russia. Because if Russia enjoys the high oil prices, you got to stick with it. And if China starts doing stuff to reduce those oil prices, then Russia's not going to like it. So China is not going to make any moves without Russia's approval, especially when it comes to oil and OPEC. So all of these fake news popping out everywhere, guys, it's just fake news. And like I said, USA is not to be trusted. You have a summit with them one day, next day all of these press releases are coming up, fake press releases saying that US and China's agreed nuclear arms talks, and China's agreed to release its reserves. It's all it's all fake news coming out of the administration. And they just want to show that the summit was successful, but it's not been successful, guys. It's far from it, and it's still the same business as usual stuff going on from USA. Because if you read out the actual stuff that's coming out of China and the official readouts from China, they categorically deny there's any nuclear talks, and they categorically not made any statement regarding releasing reserves with the US, none whatsoever. So you can't trust the US media, guys, just full of lies, full of stuff. So what I think is happening is, day by day, US is poking the dragon. Every day you open the news and you see something the US is doing to poke the dragon further and further, whether it's going through the Taiwanese Strait, whether it's talking about boycotting the Olympics. Every day they're trying something new. Yesterday it was about Uyghurs, concentration camps. It was about Tibet. It was about Hong Kong. Tomorrow it'll be about something else. Tennis player gone missing. Do you know what I mean? Every single day there's something new, and they bring it up to a level times 1,000. Oh my God, the tennis player's gone missing. We need to get proof that you have not killed her and you've not put her into any concentration camps. We need proof right now. And the U.S. president's like, get my intelligence. Get my intelligence team to find out where she is. Get special ops to go into China and rescue her. Go, guys, go. Absolutely unbelievable, guys. Absolutely unbelievable. But my point is, USA has been poking the dragon, and it's not going to stop poking the dragon. The USA is still going to keep on poking the dragon day by day, and one of these days, the dragon's going to turn around and start breathing fire, and that's when we're going to start a hot war. And it might be happening sooner rather than later, because America is the aggressor here, not China. China's not the one sending ships sailing around America. It's America sending its ships across the Taiwanese Strait, making moves daily to upset China, passing its red lines and things like that. So America is the aggressor here. And one of these days, America might find itself in a war which it does not want, or which the public may not want. And this video I'm creating is for the American public to ask the right questions. Ask the right questions to the government, whether you are really ready for a war and you have what it takes to go all the way, and all of the consequences that come with a war. So I'm going to give you 10 hard facts, 10 hard questions you need to ask yourselves, and you need to ask the government whether you are ready for this war. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to start with the 10 questions right now. So number 1, deaths. Are you prepared for thousands and thousands of body bags to be going back to America? Because attacking China is not going to be like attacking Afghanistan or Iraq. These are pretty much third world countries, and it's easy to attack these Middle East countries, especially Iraq, where it had no weapons to defend itself. And all of these years, as part of the sanctions and as part of all of these weapons inspectors, Iraq pretty much destroyed all of his aggressive weapons, and it was an easy war for America to go in there, bomb Iraq to smithereens, and it was an easy war to go in and bomb the Taliban. I mean, these Talibans, look, they don't really have much technology to fight back, no anti-aircraft missiles or anything like that. But now they do, because America's left a lot of weapons behind. So Americans need to prepare for a lot of deaths that could happen from the war. For example, China's got a lot of hypersonic weapons, hypersonic missiles, and if they take down an aircraft carrier, for example, imagine the amount of deaths that would cause. Not only that, but China has missiles that will target Guam, that would target military bases in Japan, in Korea, and not only that, it would attack military bases that America has all over the world. And is America really ready for those kind of deaths that would be coming back in thousands and thousands? Not only that, the amount of injuries to American soldiers as well. A lot of them would go back with no legs or no arms, like for example in Iraq and Afghanistan. So is America really ready for this kind of war? Because I'll tell you what, China is ready, because Taiwan is a red line for China, and Taiwan is like the end of the 100-year humiliation for China, and this is the last bit of humiliation that once they reunify Taiwan with mainland China, that would be it. That would be the end of their humiliation. So it's a huge amount of pride for China. This is the end of their civil war, and beginning of a new chapter for China. And I've seen reports of, interviews with a lot of Chinese, and don't forget, over the years, China had a one-child policy, so a lot of families only have one kid, one son or one daughter, and I've seen a lot of interviews with a lot of parents, and the parents are all willing to sacrifice their only child if it means reunifying with Taiwan, and that's the sacrifice all parents in China seems to be happy with. And this is stuff that China seems to be happy with. China is prepared to have as many losses as they can. If it means reunifying with China with Taiwan, they will happily take as many losses as possible. But is America willing to take that many losses? That's the question. So you need to ask yourself, is it really worth American lives, American injuries, to fight over something that's not even your homeland? You're fighting over a Chinese civil war. And you could ask yourself, well, is it really worth it? So that's the question you need to ask yourselves and ask your, government, whether it's really, really worth going to Taiwan and fighting for Chinese people, which you don't even know. It's not even your territory, and losing thousands and thousands of lives over it. So I'll let you ponder that one. Number 2, guys, military costs and budget. So America will take a lot of losses if they start a war with China, and they will lose a lot of equipment. We're talking about aircraft carriers, we're talking about airplanes, because China has radar to find stealth aircraft, so it'll be quite easy for them to kind of take a lot of F-35s out the air. And China has also got a huge air force as well, so it's not going to be easy. And don't forget, China has home advantage, so they got hundreds and thousands of missiles basically that's going to be flying off the mainland, hitting aircraft carriers, hitting ships. Anything that comes close, they'll be taken out. So a lot of these airlines will have to fly from a distance, and I've done a military video about this, and a lot of Chinese planes have missiles, air-to-air missiles, which actually are a longer range than what American missiles are. So a lot of them would be taken out by long-range missiles. They have a lot of drones coming out of China, so there will be a huge amount of drone warfare. They're going to use AI. They're going to take out American satellites, so America can't use its GPS to target China. So China has got a lot of stuff up its sleeve. It's got, warfare in terms of electronic warfare, hacking technology, cyber warfare. You name it, guys. You're talking about fighting a really, really strong superpower, and America's got to lose a lot of military equipment, and which means they're going to have to replace all of that, and it's going to take America a lot longer to replace it than China. As you know, China's got a huge military manufacturing capacity, and you can see by the amount of ships that they've released over the last 10-20 years. They've built a huge naval system. They've built huge amounts of aircraft over the last 10-20 years, and they can do it again faster than America, and cheaper as well, don't forget. So for China to replace its military equipment would be much cheaper and much faster than America, and America would unfortunately have to increase its military budget, and that's going to put more people into poverty, because they're going to have to take money out of other things to put into their military. So is this what you guys want? You need to ask yourselves this question, and you need to ask your government the same question as well. So moving on to number 3. Number 3, inflation. As you know, the inflation has shot through the roof in America. The cost of living is just so high. The cost of goods, whether it's petrol, oil, gas, is shot through the roof and is way above what people can afford. So the only thing that's keeping the inflation down at the moment is a lot of cheap goods coming in from China, because if you manufacture them in America or other countries, the cost is just going to be much more expensive, guys. If you do them in America especially, the cost of property, the cost of setting up, licensing, plus you got the workers, you got to pay them 10 times what you would pay in China, for example. So everything would shoot up. All the cost of making stuff in America is just going to shoot up, and America's going to see an end to a lot of cheap goods coming in from China, which means the cost of living is going to go up, the cost of everything's going to go up, inflation's going to start shooting up. So you need to ask yourself, are you ready for this kind of inflation? I mean, look how it is now while there is not a war. So imagine the inflation when there is a war. So the American public, so I'm asking you this question, are you ready for that kind of inflation jump or hyperinflation when a war starts? So that's my question to you guys, and that's the question you'll need to ask to yourself. So anyway, I'll move on to number 4. Number 4, poverty. So as you know, more and more people in America are moving into poverty. A lot of middle class people are ending up homeless. The cost of living is just way too expensive when it comes to rent, property prices, cost of living, cost of goods. And a lot of people end up being homeless because they just can't afford it, or they lose their jobs, they don't have health care. So more and more people are moving into poverty. So imagine a war starts with China and America is siphoning off more and more money into, its military, is borrowing a lot of money to pay for its military. And so it's going to be another coronavirus where America is just going to be printing money left, right, and center to pay for its military escapade with China. So you got to ask yourself, are you really ready for America to put all of its money into its military in the next war, and more people going into poverty? So you got to ask yourself that question. Are you really ready for that? Number 5, American hegemony. Okay guys, so there is a possibility that America might lose a war with China. And yeah, there is a possibility they might win, but chances are they could lose. And you got to admit that, China is not Afghanistan, it's not Iraq, where it's a surefire win, guys. It's a huge superpower you're playing with. So there could be a possibility that, for example, a lot of body bags are coming back to America more than usual. Hundreds and thousands of body bags come back to America, and then, like in the Vietnam times, a lot of people start protesting in the street to start bringing the troops back home. And the next president comes in and he says, okay, I'll bring the troops back home. Let's end the war with China. Because this is going to be a long war. It's not going to be a very short war. And so that could be a possibility. And if that happens, imagine the allies that America has. If America loses a war with China, allies such as Korea, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and all of these other countries that rely on America's protection, they're going to say, get your troops out of our country right now. Korea's going to be like, we don't need American soldiers in our country anymore. We're going to start building a relationship with China. Japan could do the same. Why pay for American security when America keeps losing wars? America would lose face very much. They would lose face with UK, Australia, even the countries around the Middle East, Israel. So why would any country rely on America to protect them when America can't protect them? They go around losing wars in Afghanistan, Vietnam, in China. So America will lose a lot of its allies, and it will lose a lot of its power, and it will lose its hegemony. So that could be a possible solution. So you've got to ask yourself this question: are you ready to lose American hegemony because of this? Number 6, dollar reserve currency. As you know, guys, inflation is going through the roof in America. America is in a huge amount of debt, over 28 trillion. And a war with China would increase that debt. It would increase the inflation, it would increase that debt. And every few months, America's having to increase their debt limit. And as you know, the next debt limit is due in the next few weeks. So if they don't increase that debt limit, they will default. So if they keep increasing their debt limit and they default while having a war with China, they would lose their dollar reserve currency very, very fast. Dollar reserve, dollar bonds will be absolutely useless. And don't forget, guys, the reason America can borrow so much money is because the dollar reserve is so high at the moment. So imagine if USA loses this war and they start losing their dollar reserve currency, and they can't pay off their loans, they go default on their debts, dollar reserve will start shooting down, and this will cause America to collapse because somebody has got to pay that 28 trillion back. And if they can't pay it back, and if they can't borrow more money to pay that back, they're going to be in big trouble, guys. So you got to ask yourself, are you ready for the dollar reserve currency to go down when you start this war? Just ask yourself that. Number 7, allies. So America will bring in its allies whenever there's a war with China, and if there's a war with China. We're talking about UK, we're talking about Japan, possibly South Korea because USA has got a lot of troops stationed there. We're talking about Guam, we're talking about Australia, and a few others. And whenever this war starts, these allies would be in serious danger of being taken out. So, for example, Japan would be in the front line. So if any attacks come from Japan, Japan would be taken out very quickly because there's hundreds and thousands of missiles pointed at Japan from China. And if Japan decides to join into this war, Japan would be the front line, and it would probably be destroyed within days. Same with Korea. Korea would be in the front line. But not only China would attack Korea, North Korea would also attack South Korea as well. So there's a big danger there. Places like UK and Australia, I think China would send its long-range missiles there, or even its submarines to attack those places. So UK won't be safe, Australia won't be safe. So does America really want to put its allies into such danger? So you've got to ask yourselves that. So are you prepared to lose your allies and put them in such dangerous situation if you start a war with China? So just ask yourself that, and I'll move on to the next question. Number 8, Russia. So as you know, Russia and China are very good mates at the moment. They're very close. They have an alliance going. So if USA and its allies decide to join in a war against China, there is a danger that Russia would join in as well, and they would be on the side of China. And there is a huge possibility that could happen. So is USA and its allies ready to go to a war with two major superpowers, China and Russia, at the same time? Are you really ready for that? So you need to ask yourself that question. Is USA ready for two wars in two fronts? And you're going to have a lot more casualties if that happens. And Ukraine will be the first to go as well. As well as NATO. America wouldn't be able to help NATO because America will be too busy fighting China. So there is no way America will be able to fight in two fronts. On one side you got Ukraine and NATO versus Russia, and on the other side you have China, Taiwan and its allies, and Russia could get involved either way. So are you ready for an escalation if there's a war with China? So just ask yourself that. Number 9, rules-based order. So the rules-based order is something that the Americans have come up with. It's not an international based order, but it's an American rules-based order which they govern the world with. So if America do lose this war with China, and that is a possibility by the way, America would lose so much allies, but not only that, its rule-based order would probably go out the window. It would embolden countries such as Russia to move towards NATO and destroy NATO installations, and also maybe take over some of its lost territory and some of its territory from Ukraine. It would embolden countries such as Iran. They would, without American pressure, they would just go ahead and build a nuclear bomb, for example, and other countries will start following, building a nuclear bomb. So that could be a possibility. You losing that rules-based order that you've spent years and years building and perfecting. So if that happens, that's a danger of that rules-based order going out the window, and you would be losing all of your allies, losing a lot of allies going towards China, for example, for protection. So you've got to ask yourself, are you ready to lose that rules-based order that you've worked so hard to build over the years? So that's one of the questions you need to ask. So moving on to the last one. Number 10, nuclear war. So as you know, China has been building up its nuclear arsenal. There is an unknown number of missiles that with nuclear weapons that China has. And don't forget, a lot of these nuclear weapons would be going under a hypersonic weapon as well. So America doesn't have that. America might have 5,000-6,000 nuclear warheads on traditional ballistic missiles, but China has probably just under 1,000, between 500 and 1,000 inside hypersonic weapons. So they can pick and choose any big American city in their will. So, you know, they can fire 500, 600, you know, hypersonic weapons with nuclear warheads on New York, Chicago, Detroit, all the major American cities, and America would be taken out. And America would probably also fire all of their 6,000 missiles at China. And yeah, a lot of them would hit China as well. The point is, when it's a nuclear fight or a nuclear war, nobody wins. And you know for a fact that China is ahead of America in terms of hypersonic weapons and things like that. And so you've got to ask yourself, are you really ready for a nuclear war if it breaks out in the Taiwanese Strait? Is Americans really ready to take this war to the next level, nuclear war, end of the earth? You know, are you really ready for that kind of escalation? So I'll let you ponder on that thought for a second, because that could be the possibility, guys. And when it's a nuclear war, nobody wins. Nobody wins at all. So you've got to think about this. Think about all the 10 questions you need to ask yourself. And just ask yourself, is US really ready to go to war with China over Taiwan, over China's civil war, over China's red lines, over China's internal issues? So like I said, this video is for the American public. Just to ask yourselves the right questions, ask your friends, ask the government, are you really ready for this war? So I'm going to end this video on that thought. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, join my Patreon if you want to support this channel, or if you really like this video and really like what I'm doing, don't forget to buy me a coffee. So without further ado, guys, I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.